Discover the shocking truth. 5 surprising revelations about Genghis Khan's hidden sexual practices. Alex felt the weight of the library pressing against her. She had just turned the last page of a book on Genghis Khan when a flash of frustration shot through her. It echoed her own life tangled by financial struggle and the disheartened whispers of her mother. "Why can't you just take that stable job at the insurance agency?" her mother often prodded. But stability felt like a shackle, locking her dream of a future in academia behind dusty bookshelves. Each overdue notice flared a reminder that bills were piling higher than her aspirations. In the quiet of the Maplewood Library, her hopes barely whispered over the creaking of the old building. As she wrestled with conflicting emotions, desire for independence clashing with crippling anxiety, Alex's fingers brushed against the spine of a worn journal buried deep in the stacks. Drawn in by an impossible curiosity, she pulled it free. This wasn't just any journal, it belonged to a distant relative, revealing an obsession with Genghis Khan's unconventional sexual exploits. The initial thrill of discovery was intoxicating, yet tinged with unease. Was this worth losing her mother's approval? Her heart raced as she delved into the pages, absorbing revelations that seemed to shake the foundation of everything she thought she knew about history. The truth within those pages ignited something inside her. Each sentence clawed at her ambivalence. Should she pursue this new discovery that stirred her soul or cling to the safety of her current, uninspiring existence? Readers and skeptics alike would malign a narrative so unlike the familiar tales of loyalty and honor. What if her effort to breathe life into this legacy was seen as a joke, or worse, a failure? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each revelation surfacing in those pages, psychological seeds of doubt took root. She no longer felt like a simple librarian, she was a historian on the brink of uncharted territory. Yet, with her mother's words echoing in her mind, Alex wrestled with guilt, the pressure mounting to choose a path already paved for her. Family dinners turned into battlegrounds, where her mother's disapproval loomed like a specter. They exchanged polite smiles, but every critique about stability pierced deeper than a sword, twisting as her resolve wavered. Then, just as her research gained momentum, whispers of what she discovered reached the ears of a respected professor from a nearby university. He offered her a scholarship to present her findings, elevating her excitement but also amplifying her fears. Could she stand before the academic community, exposing her insights against traditional narratives? What if they laughed at the absurdity of a young woman from Maplewood trying to reinvent historical discourse? The anxiety constricted her chest as she faced the specter of failure. At that moment, the journal revealed one last bombshell. A shocking family secret intertwined with her distant relative and Genghis Khan himself now manifested on the page, igniting a tempest of emotion within her. Panic clashed with purpose. What if unveiling this truth meant cruelly severing ties with her family? In the suffocating silence of the library, Alex felt the earth shift beneath her. The tension reached a crescendo, forcing Alex to confront the question that gnawed at her heart: could she honor her roots while forging a wild new identity, or would she let fear and expectation bury her aspirations for good? In the aftermath of that revelation, Alex felt an electric current of urgency surging through her veins. The story within her grasp was monumental, brimming with the potential to redefine what history meant, yet tethered to her familial loyalty, it became a double-edged sword. The journal lay open before her, the inked words fervently dancing, speaking truths that called her name. Stepping back, she felt the vastness of what lay ahead. This was not merely a pursuit of knowledge, but a dangerous upheaval of her identity. She could almost hear the echo of her mother's disapproval reverberating in her mind, an unrelenting mantra insisting on stability. Would she carry the burden of family ties and societal expectations, or break free to pursue the inheritance of her ancestors' secrets? The weight of her choice seeped into every crevice of her thoughts, breeding doubt yet simultaneously igniting a spark of newfound resolve. Determined to navigate this path with clarity, Alex made a decision: she would confront the fears that gripped her. The next day, she visited the university to meet the professor who had offered her the scholarship. As she stepped into his office, walls lined with towering bookshelves seemed to close in, yet the sheer volume of knowledge surrounding her also served as a source of comfort. This was her world, the world she longed to inhabit fully, yet she felt like a child playing dress-up. "Your research is unorthodox," the professor noted, eyes assessing her with an intensity that sparked both thrill and dread within. "But it also holds the potential to challenge long-standing narratives in the field of history. That's not something we see every day." Yes, but she struggled to articulate her concerns, fingers nervously dancing over the journal in her bag. "What if it's too far-fetched? My family has ties to this history, and I fear the repercussions of trying to unveil it." "Sometimes it's precisely those ties that can give your work the authenticity it needs," he said, leaning forward, voice steady. "You have a chance to expand the conversation. Don't squander that by second-guessing your worth." His words landed upon her with gravity, echoing yet another internal conflict she had not fully acknowledged, her own self-doubt. Had she spent so long hiding behind convention that she had forgotten the fierce value of her own perspective? That realization struck like a clap of thunder, igniting a flicker of bravery in her heart. As she left his office, feeling more emboldened than ever, her thoughts spun towards her family. Letters could easily drown in a sea of unopened mail, but words spoken could linger long after the pages had turned. What if she aired the very secrets that were meant to be safeguarded? The thought sent a jolt of apprehension through her. Could she bear the disappointment it might spark in her mother, a woman who had sacrificed so much for a life of stability? The night drew close as she returned to the familiar embrace of the library. She sat down resolutely, the worn journal still tucked neatly in her bag, the mysteries weighing more heavily than before. The delicate balance between ambition and familial loyalty shrieked within. It wasn't just about Genghis Khan and history anymore, it was about unlocking her own future, illuminating her place in a scholarly community that may very well rise or fall at her feet. With new energy surging through her, she turned the pages of the journal, hoping for another clue, the missing piece that might determine her path. Perhaps it was not just a choice about academia, but a confrontation with the past. This journal was her conduit to not only understand her lineage, but to redefine it. Little did she know, the very next revelation she uncovered would send her spiraling toward an unforeseen confrontation, one that would ultimately pit her ancestral loyalty against her unwavering desire to carve her own identity. As the clock ticked into the early hours, Alex felt the weight of the world resting on her shoulders. History was not done with her yet. What lay ahead would force her to navigate the uncharted waters between the past and her own ambitions. Draped in the silence of the library, Alex allowed herself to escape into the pages of the journal. Each worn entry pulsated with the energy of the past, each word a thread pulling her deeper into a narrative that felt both alien and intimately familiar. It was as if the ink itself held the breath of her ancestors, beckoning her to listen. As she delved further, the stories began to morph from mere historical accounts into something visceral. The implications of uncovering these truths extended beyond the academic, they throbbed against the architecture of her identity. In the dim light, hour after hour passed, yet she was unyielding, a relentless seeker gazing into the shadows, reflecting her own conflicts. The fear of disappointing her family still lurked, but it slowly transformed, intertwining with an urgent desire to prove her own worth. Digging deeper into the journal, she found references to a hidden lineage, figures within her ancestry long obscured by the passage of time. Each revelation sketched a clearer picture of who she might be if she fully embraced these truths, if she dared to see herself as not just a descendant but an active participant in the tapestry of history. A particularly striking passage described the women in her lineage: strong, resilient, often marginalized in the narratives recorded by men. Alex's pulse quickened. Could they be just like her, battling societal expectations while striving to define their own identities? The contemplation of this parallel lit a fire within her. It was not enough to simply study history, she needed to reshape her relationship with it, elevating the voices that had long been silenced. Yet, the shadows grew more pronounced, spurred by a fresh wave of trepidation. What if in her pursuit, she unearthed truths that could shatter her family's carefully curated image? The prospect evoked an inner dialogue that worshipped safety but yearned for boldness. As the clock approached midnight, she found herself pacing, fueled by restlessness, a need to translate her burgeoning insights into something actionable. Perhaps it's time to forge a new path, she whispered out loud to the empty room, her reflection in the window bringing clarity to her internal battle. The weight of her mother's dreams loomed heavy, yet a fierce voice inside urged her to break free from that shackling narrative. This was her moment not merely to explore the past, but to claim her future. Suddenly, her phone vibrated on the table, cutting through her thoughts. It was a message from the professor. He wanted to meet again to discuss her research. A wave of anxiety crashed over her. Was this an invitation into academic legitimacy or merely a prelude to revealing her insecurities? Heart racing, she tapped her reply, tentatively agreeing. As dawn broke, casting a soft glow on the library's walls, her resolve firmed. She would not just prepare for the meeting, she would enter it armed with knowledge and analysis of her ancestry and the strength she had drawn from it. No more playing dress-up in the scholarly world. This was a battle for recognition, not only of her work but of her place within a lineage that deserved to be remembered and resounded. Filled with purpose, Alex returned home, each step grounded in clarity. She could feel the weight of expectation shifting, transforming into a surface upon which she would revolt against silence. Encased in this newfound belief, she envisioned the confrontation ahead, each detail a strategy in her mind. However, as she stepped over the threshold into her house, the churning doubt returned, heavier and more pronounced. Would her family understand her resolve, her belief in these forgotten stories? Or would they resist, denying the very essence of their shared history? The moment of rejuvenation faded into uncertainty as she braced for the conversation that would not only challenge her academically but force her familial loyalties into the spotlight. The time had come to face not only her family's South legacy but her place within it, a reality she was now prepared to confront. Would her journey sacrifice or solidify their bonds? When Alex awoke the next morning, the sunlight filtering through her curtains felt like an omen, highlighting the urgency of the tasks ahead. The previous night's revelations swirled in her mind, juxtaposed against her mundane surroundings. She needed to prepare not just for her meeting with the professor, but for the inevitable discussions with her family that loomed like storm clouds. Her thoughts darted like startled birds as she paced her small kitchen, practicing what she might say. Alex grabbed a pen and started jotting down her ideas. With each word that appeared on the paper, she envisioned confidence colliding with the apprehension tightening around her chest. The words, "This is our history," scribbled out, were then crossed out with reckless abandon. No, she thought, it had to be more personal. This is my history. The morning glided past in a blur of preparation. She dressed thoughtfully, a blend of professional and personal, her chosen outfit a testament to her dual identity as student and granddaughter. The mirror acknowledged her struggle, it reflected an unease she'd become all too familiar with, yet this time it was edged with purpose. She arrived at the professor's office with a heart pounding in rhythm with uncertainty. Alex perched on the edge of her seat as she awaited his arrival, tapping her foot slowly against the cool floor. This was a familiar space, books piled sky-high on much of the desk, decorated with clippings and maps that hinted at a restless mind. Yet, today it felt different. This time she would not just absorb knowledge but share her own burgeoning insights. When he entered, a smile broke across his face as he greeted her. "Alex, eager to discuss your findings? I've heard whispers of your direction, and I must admit, I'm quite intrigued." As they settled into conversational rhythm, she felt the weight of her notes pressing against her chest. "I want to talk about the women in my lineage," she began, her voice steady despite the rapid beating of her heart. The words poured forth, unveiling a tapestry woven with strength and strife. As she spoke of her ancestors' resilience, Alex could see the professor's intrigue deepen. She articulated not just the stories but her burning desire to elevate these overlooked histories, feelers extended towards the future. Her thoughts crystallized into a stream of clarity. She was not merely retelling history but reclaiming it as her own, a task laden with responsibility and possibility. The professor leaned back thoughtfully, nodding. "You're onto something profound here, Alex. But have you considered how this could affect your family? They may not be prepared for the shadows of the past you're unearthing." His words hung heavy, igniting a new wave of anxiety within her. "I have to be truthful, yet I'm terrified of causing rifts. What if they reject this part of who we are? What if they can't face the truth?" The reality of her dual battle, the academic and familial, crashed upon her like an unrelenting tide. He clasped his hands as if pondering his next words carefully. "Then it will be your job to navigate those waters. You might find that exposing uncomfortable truths can release bonds as easily as it can strain them." Alex took a breath, realization dawning that her journey could fracture old ties or build new ones. This venture was not merely academic but deeply personal, a crucible demanding strength she was still uncertain she possessed. When the meeting concluded, she departed with mixed emotions spiraling through her thoughts. The professor had encouraged her, yet the burden seemed heavier than before. Doubt twisted in her stomach as she approached her family's home. Each step echoed her inner trepidation, the knowledge that truth has the power to both illuminate and devastate nagged at her heels. Was she ready to confront the truth of her lineage, irrespective of her family's understanding? The question loomed, defining her identity in ways she had yet to fully grasp. As she reached for the doorbell, she hesitated. Would they welcome her revelations, or consider them an assault on their carefully curated identity? The moment of clarity she had felt only hours prior felt obscured by clouds of anxiety. Determined, Alex pressed the button, the chime ringing out like a gavel in a courtroom. The confrontation beckoned, anticipation dripped from the edges of her resolve. Would she emerge from this chaos renewed, or would the weight of history crush her? As the door swung open, she reminded herself, each tale reclaimed was a step toward understanding, one way or another. The stakes were nothing less than the very fabric of her family's South legacy and her place within it. The door creaked open to reveal her mother, a blend of warmth and caution etched across her features. The smell of home-cooked dinner wafted through the doorway, momentarily distracting Alex from the tumult within her. "Alex, sweetie, is everything okay?" The concern in her mother's voice flickered like a candle in the wind, threatening to extinguish under the weight of the revelations Alex carried. "Can we talk?" It was a simple request, yet Alex felt the layers of meaning behind it, hinting at an uncertainty she hadn't fully chased away. Her mother stepped aside, allowing the rush of familiar scents and sounds to envelop Alex. The living room was as she'd left it, comfortable yet filled with nuances of history. Photos adorned the walls, each one depicting moments where laughter had eclipsed sorrow. Here, within these frames, was the foundation of her family's narrative, a narrative she was now questioning. As they sunk into the cushions of the couch, Alex felt the air grow dense with unsaid words. Fingers intertwining, she met her mother's expectant gaze. "Mom, there's something important I need to share about our family history." Her mother nodded, the slight furrow in her brow deepening. "You've been digging into the past lately. I was hoping it wouldn't disturb anything too much." The cautious honesty in her mother's interjection made Alex's heart clench. "It's already disturbed me." Taking a deep breath, she continued, "What I found isn't just about old stories. It's about women in our family, their struggles and victories, and how they shaped who we are today." Eyes widening, her mother leaned back as if physically distancing herself from the weight of Alex's words. "You know, some things are better left alone, don't you?" "Maybe," Alex replied, feeling the tension swell within her. "But whose history are we preserving by ignoring them? It's not just about keeping the past tidy. It's about acknowledging the truth." Her mother hesitated, the silence filling the room like an unsubtle thunder. Alex watched as her mother grappled with the ramifications of such acknowledgement, something she too had wrestled with entirely anew. What if the truth changes how we see each other? Her mother finally whispered, vulnerability leaking into her voice. It might, Alex admitted, each syllable laced with conviction. But isn't it worth it if it leads us to grow closer? To understand where we come from? The minute shifted into something still, an ultimatum crafted from fear and aspiration hanging heavily over them. The air in the room vibrated with cautious energy as Alex processed this pivotal moment. If her family chose to support her, they would forge a new path together. But if they recoiled, she might stand alone, burdened by the truth she now wielded. Your father won't take this well, her mother's voice sliced through the static, a hint of warning fortified with familial loyalty. He holds on to the past tightly, afraid of what it might unravel. A knot twisted tighter in Alex's stomach. I know he does, but that's the point. We can break free of those confines together. We can redefine ourselves. Validation ignited within her. It wasn't just about unearthing family history, it was about empowering them all. This could be a journey instead of a battle. Her mother regarded her carefully, the softening of her features signaling a shift. You sound so sure of yourself. Alex sensed the opportunity blooming before her. I'm not. But I can't keep pretending the past doesn't haunt us. It's there, letting it go means confronting it together. Just promise me you won't go in guns blazing. Your father, well, he is stubborn, her mother cautioned, the worry blending with a reluctant acceptance. Her heart raced, she was neither entirely assuaged nor entirely comforted, the fragility of familial ties stretched before her. I promise, but I can't nod along to silence anymore. I need to know who we are. Her mother sighed softly, the weight of understanding slipping shinily into place. Then we'll take this step by step. But you'll need to prepare for some pushback. Alex nodded. Recognizing the challenges ahead, both daunting and exhilarating. Each piece of her family legacy she unearthed could either build them a bridge or erect a wall. A prick of determination surged through her. The intertwining of her academic pursuit with her family's emotional landscape intrigued her. If she could bring them on this journey, perhaps they could emerge stronger. She would have to choose her words carefully, tread lightly through the layers of history she sought to expose. Yet that was only the beginning. As the weight of their converging paths pressed against her shoulders, a shiver danced down her spine. What if some truths couldn't simply be explained away? Perhaps the most daunting challenge lay ahead, one that could alter the family dynamic beyond recognition. And yet, the desire to uncover her story burned brighter than her fears. She resolved to face the impending reckoning. Her identity hung in the balance of revealing and rediscovering her roots. As they planned how to approach talking with her father, an unsettling thought traversed Alex's mind: what was the price of ownership over one's history? With a hesitant breath, she braced for the confrontation the next chapter of her journey awaited, shrouded in complexity and ripe with potential conflict. Would she brave the storm ahead, or would the truth prove too much for her family to bear? Alex's heart thundered as she approached the dinner table, the warmth of the room suffocating yet familiar. Each plate clanged softly under the weight of the meal, symbols of the normalcy that existed in stark contrast to her internal turbulence. Her father sat at the head, eyes scanning through the evening's newspaper, unaware of the storm brewing within his daughter. With a deep inhale, she took her seat, the sounds of cutlery clattering and the aroma of home-cooked food drifting around her like a protective barrier. But as moments ticked by, the safety it offered felt deceptive. We need to talk, she stated, keeping her voice steady despite the nervousness rippling through her. Her father looked up, brow furrowing. About what? The skepticism in his tone sent shivers through her spine. He was already poised for resistance. It's about our family history, Alex began, her words almost choking on the heaviness they carried. There is something I've come across, and I think it's important that we discuss it. Her father exchanged glances with her mother, an unspoken transfer of apprehension passing between them. Is this about your research? He asked, skepticism sharpening his features. Yes, Alex pressed, straining against the suffocating walls of tradition that her father had built around their history. It's about understanding who we are. Some things are better left uncovered, he countered, his voice firm, almost accusatory. A surge of frustration overcame her. Why was this so hard? Why was acknowledging their past something deemed so dangerous? Dad, isn't it better to know the truth, even if it's uncomfortable? The plea escaped her lips before she could second-guess it, and she felt a flicker of the courage she'd been nurturing within. His jaw tightened, and Alex could see his mind racing. What truth? He demanded, the quiet tension in the room thickening like fog. She braced for the critical moment. The truth about the women in our family, their sacrifices, their stories. This is not just some academic exercise for me, it's personal. It's about us, about rectifying the narratives that may have been silenced. Silence enveloped them, weighty and palpable. Her mother's eyes shifted between them, a war zone brewing before her. Alex felt exposed, her vulnerability laid bare against her father's staunch wall of resistance. What have you uncovered? He asked, not with a hint of curiosity but rather a protective skepticism that boiled her blood. What have you found that you think I don't know? Recollections of the stories she'd unearthed flashed through her mind, her grandmother's hidden journals about struggles, her great-aunt's fierce resilience. Every discovery was a key designed to unlock her family's truth, yet here she was, facing the guardian of their silence. I found things that weren't shared. Stories of strength, of fear, of resilience. They matter, Dad. They make us who we are. Or they need to stay in the past, he rebutted, crossing his arms as if protecting himself from her words. The tension peaked. But that's the point. Alex's voice rose, breaking through the silence, her frustration blazing into determination. We can't keep ignoring our legacy because it's uncomfortable. I refuse to sit here pretending everything is fine when the truth lingers, suffocating us. In that moment, she realized the depth of her conflict. The stakes weren't just about family history, they were about her own identity, her refusal to accept silence in the face of uncertainty. You think you can just dig into this old garbage and change our family's narrative? He scoffed, disbelief wrapping around him like armor. Why not? Knowing the truth is powerful, she shot back, emboldened by clarity. It shapes us, can transform us into better versions of ourselves, but I can't fight this battle alone. Her father's expression wavered slightly, the resolve etched on his face softened momentarily, revealing cracks in his staunch fortress. In that flicker of vulnerability, Alex sensed an opening, a chance to engage him rather than repel him. Help me understand. Let us face this together. You may think the past can be buried, but its roots run too deep. It affects us daily. Sometimes, her father finally said, the bite in his tone muted now, the past is meant to be what it is. It's done. It's over. Alex leaned forward, her heart pounding not just from fear, but from shifting resolve. But it's not over for us. The past might be gone, but the lessons from it, those can guide us into the future. Her mother interjected softly, sensing the rising tide of emotions. Perhaps we can explore this together, understand what it truly means for us. But as she spoke, Alex felt her father recoil, she saw the storm brewing behind his eyes. The conversation felt like a tightrope walk, one misstep, and the entire exchange could cascade into chaos. As the evening wore on, she knew this was merely the prelude. A battle was brewing not just within her family, but within herself. She wasn't just fighting for historical truth. She was forging her path forward, crafting her place within this legacy, one that could either unite them or fracture everything she held dear. As she stared down her father, the air thick with anticipation, Alex pondered the question that loomed unaddressed: what might this journey unravel within her, and reveal about her own identity? The confrontation was only the beginning. Would the fire they ignited spark transformation, or would it incite a conflict she wasn't ready to face? The evening stretched out like a taut string, vibrating with the tension of unresolved emotions. Alex sat at the table, the remnants of dinner forgotten as she wrestled with conflicting desires, her yearning for understanding against the weight of potential backlash from her father. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, reminding her of the stakes at play. It was not merely about unearthing family history but also about defining her place within it. "Didn't you ever feel the weight of silence?" She pressed gently, opting for a softer approach as she discerned the crack in her father's armor. His expression faltered, revealing a glimmer of doubt that sparked a flicker of hope within her. "Silence can be a protective shield," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "It keeps out unnecessary pain. But it also stifles growth," Alex countered, sensing an opening to explore deeper truths. "What if acknowledging our past could help us heal? Our family isn't defined solely by those moments we prefer to forget." The air shifted once more, laden with the palpable intensity of her words. She realized that he, too, bore a burden, the weight of unexamined experiences passed down through generations. "Your grandmother carried so many stories, the struggles, the triumphs. I feel obligated to honor those voices, Dad." Her father's gaze dropped to his plate, his fork tapping rhythmically against the porcelain, a mechanical response in the face of overwhelming emotion. She knew that every beat pulled harder at his own repressed feelings, perhaps guilt, shame, or even a longing for connection that he had buried. "Why are you so set on this?" he finally asked, looking up, the challenge lingering in his tone even as it softened. "What do you hope to achieve?" Alex couldn't mask the tremor in her hands as she laid her truth bare. "I want to feel whole. We are more than the stories we're told, more than the glossed-over narratives. I want to explore who we truly are, the good and the painful, so that I can grow into the person I'm meant to be. Don't we all deserve that chance?" As those words left her lips, a realization crept in. She was not just advocating for her family's legacy, she was carving out a space for her future self amidst the tangled webs of the past. Her mother, sensing the tension, leaned forward, her visage gentle but striking. "What if we all took a step into the unknown together? Understanding might not only bring us closer but air out the quiet resentment we've ignored for so long. We could promise each other to listen without judgment." Alex's heart quickened at her mother's proposition. The notion of their entangled destinies sparked an ember of unity, yet her father remained pensive, walls still standing tall, but now slightly ajar. "What if I told you some of these stories are better left buried because they're too painful?" His question hung heavy, casting shadows over the flickering light of hope. "Pain can't just be ignored or diluted, Dad," she replied firmly, embodying the courage she had glimpsed earlier. "It seeps into our lives, manifesting in ways we might not even recognize. It influences how we relate to each other, how I grow. Ignoring it allows that pain to fester." A long pause ensued, each second dragging out the weight of accumulated familial histories. Alex could feel the ground shifting beneath them, a transitory moment where decisions could pivot generations. Her resolve stabilized as she awaited her father's response, believing that this confrontation, however daunting, might be the catalyst for healing. "I don't want to bring back old wounds," he murmured at last, his voice bereft of the earlier bite. "But perhaps you're right. Perhaps we should uncover these stories, confront the pain, for you." The vulnerability in his admission stirred something deep within her, an affirmation of her own role emerging amidst the conversation. She wasn't just pushing boundaries, she was forging connections, drawing her lineage forward into the present. "Let us do this together," she implored, a new determination taking root. "We step into those stories, we face them, not leave them in the shadows. Together, we can navigate through hurt to find healing. It's all a part of reclaiming our legacy." As she spoke, a bridge reformed between the generations, both an invitation and a challenge. They would delve into the untold, forge an understanding amidst the chaos, and confront what had been buried before it could become their own downfall. Her father took a long breath, his body seemed to relax, if only slightly. In their shared vulnerability lay the promise of another kind of strength. But as the emotional currents swirled within her, Alex understood that this was just the beginning of a much larger journey, one that could either unify them or provoke deeper fractures. With this new idea forming in her mind, she contemplated what lay ahead. What would they discover together, and how would it change them? What truths hidden within those stories might not only affect her family but also redefine who she was becoming? The path ahead loomed like an uncharted territory, a landscape rich with possibilities for growth and discovery or turmoil and division. Would they be ready to face what awaited them? As dawn broke, spilling light into the dining room, Alex's resolve floated between anticipation and trepidation. The quiet seemed different, charged with the promise of unfolding truths. She sat at the kitchen table, a journal open in front of her, blank pages trembling with potential. Her mother moved around, preparing breakfast, though the air felt heavy with unspoken words. "Are you ready for this?" her mother finally asked, searching for reassurance in Alex's eyes. "I think so," Alex replied, though a tremor ran through her. "I don't even know where to start. But I feel like I need to document what we unearth, what I learn about our family. It might help me understand how to piece together this tapestry." Her mother nodded, placing a steaming cup of coffee in front of her. "Conversations might get messy. You might even discover things you wish you hadn't. But that's part of it, isn't it?" Alex countered, a budding fire igniting within her. "Unraveling the threads might lead us to something beautiful, even if it's difficult at first." Just then, her father entered, the early morning light casting long shadows. He glanced at the table, a subtle acknowledgement of the emotional work that lay ahead. The air thickened with the unexpressed. "What's our plan?" Alex took a deep breath. "I thought we could start with Grandma's stories. She had so many experiences. Why not begin by reaching out to relatives who might have insights?" He hesitated, the familiar resistance flickering in his eyes. "You mean unearthing family drama? It could stir up a lot for everyone. Or it could bring clarity," she pressed, drawing on her newfound strength. "We've kept these tales in silence for too long. I want to have an honest conversation. What if it shakes the foundations of what we thought we knew?" He cautioned, the concern in his voice revealing a fear of exposure. "It could. But truth often does," she said, her heart racing with the gravity of potential turmoil and revelation. Her father took a long pause, searching her face for any trace of trepidation, but finding only determination. "Let's begin with your grandmother. That's a reasonable start." "Great!" Alex exclaimed, feeling an unexpected wave of relief wash over her. "I'll call Aunt May this afternoon." The family moved through breakfast in a charged silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Noticing the crops of tension, Alex's mind drifted back to her grandmother's tales, half-remembered stories of legacies and struggles she had once shared over Sunday dinners. After breakfast, she took to her room, her sanctuary, and opened the journal again, ready to document her thoughts. Words flowed, revealing a kaleidoscope of reflections on her identity, family, and the weight of history. With each sentence, she felt connections strengthening, a tapestry being woven, threads intertwining with her own life. Yet, a flicker of doubt lodged itself in her heart. Would she be ready for what lay ahead? Could her family grapple with the painful legacies they had chosen to forget? Every question felt like a stone poised on the precipice of a stream, waiting to be cast into the dark water beneath. As Alex scribbled her thoughts, she recalled snippets of her grandmother's voice, rich with life, echoing tales of sorrow and triumph. In this moment, Alex made a silent vow: she would seek the unvarnished truth and wield it as a beacon for her family. The day dragged on, and with every tick of the clock, the anticipation amplified. Would Aunt May welcome these conversations, or would she retreat into the shadows of silence like so many before? That night, Alex lay awake, shadows dancing across the ceiling. The prospect of familial confrontation fizzled with both anxiety and determination. She felt unmoored, standing on the brink of discovery not just for her family, but for herself. Suddenly, a realization flooded over her: what if Aunt May held secrets that were far darker than she dared to imagine? As sleep claimed her, a single thought anchored her mind, heavy with newfound urgency: what if the time had come to face encounters that would test her moral compass in ways she had never imagined? The day unfolded with an urgency that clawed at Alex's insides. The sun hung low in the sky, casting soft rays through her window, yet every bit of daylight felt like a countdown to the unknown. She sat at her desk, staring at the phone, heart racing with both anticipation and dread. Aunt May had been the keeper of stories for as long as Alex could remember, but she also embodied a history of silence, a silence Alex was determined to break. As she dialed her aunt's number, Alex's palms grew clammy. Memories of her grandmother's laughter mingled with her father's reluctance to dive into family history. But each pulse of the phone rang out like a metronome, setting the tempo for the confrontation ahead. What lay beneath the surface was everything she'd been afraid to discover. When Aunt May answered, her voice cracked like ice, revealing years coded in hesitation. "Alex, dear. It's been a long time. How can I help you?" "Hi Aunt May. I've been thinking about Grandma's stories. I want to learn more about our family history," she said, trying to mask the tremor in her voice with feigned nonchalance. A lengthy pause followed, dragging like a slow thrum. "It's not easy, you know. Some stories are better left unspoken." Alex inhaled sharply, determination solidifying within. "Maybe they can help heal what we've tried to forget. Can we talk?" Still hesitant, Aunt May's cautious reply was laden with unspoken weight. "I'll come over tomorrow. But be prepared, it's not just tales of triumph and laughter." Alex put down the phone, adrenaline coursing through her veins. This was the moment that had been whispering to her in the shadows of her doubt. It took every fiber of her to resist the rush of thoughts telling her to hide from the task ahead. Instead, she grabbed her journal, opened it boldly, and began to script her expectations and fears. The weight of expectation pressed down on her, the belief that these conversations could unravel more than just family history, they could reveal her very foundation. The evening slipped into night, the wind outside rustling leaves, echoing her inner turmoil. She expanded the pages with reflections. If her family had secrets, what did they mean for her own identity? The notion of walking into the darkness of her family's past and confronting it became exhilarating as much as it was terrifying. In her restless state, the question of her grandmother's struggles surfaced in her mind, filling her with both empathy and curiosity. What had shaped the woman who had so profoundly influenced their lives? What disappointments lived in the edges of those stories she had never heard? They weren't mere tales, they were legacies intertwined with heartbreak and resilience. As thoughts raced through her, Alex wondered if her desire for truth was an act of rebellion or a noble pursuit. Could she pave a way to healing, or was she risking opening a Pandora's box, the possibility of unearthing turmoil that could shatter her family's fragile peace? With that realization, a paradox wrapped itself around her heart: seeking clarity could breed chaos. Yet, what if that chaos was the very ingredient necessary to create resolution? What if the unclear narratives turned out to be lies constructed by fear? When sleep finally claimed her, it was with an unsettled mind that danced between the visions of potential discovery and uncertainty. She had officially stepped into turbulent waters, eager yet terrified of the depths that lay below. The next day, as she prepared to meet Aunt May, her pulse quickened with every passing thought of the familial revelations ahead. Would Aunt May share the journeys she had endured or retreat into layers of secrecy? Time felt suspended, and the arrival of the hour loomed larger than life. The moment of truth was fast approaching. The culmination of Alex's quest to illuminate the past might soon frame her future, but at what cost? The sun cast a warm light in the room as Alex arranged the small table, setting the scene for what she hoped would be a pivotal moment in her family's journey. Her heart raced as she awaited Aunt May's arrival, swirling with excitement and lingering apprehension. The air hummed with the weight of possibilities, amplified by the stories waiting to be uncovered. When the doorbell rang, a shiver of anticipation rushed through her. Alex opened the door to see Aunt May standing there, a mixture of resilience and reluctance etched into her features. "Hello, dear," she greeted warmly but with a tremor in her voice. "Let us talk." They settled into the cozy space, and Alex could sense the walls thickening with unvoiced memories. The opening exchange was laden with unsaid words, but Alex was determined to breach the silence. "I want to hear about Grandma," she began, her voice steady. "The real stories, the ones that matter." Aunt May looked away, her gaze lost in the past as the shadows flickered across her features. "Your grandmother lived through a lot," but she hesitated, grasping the fabric of her memories. "Some things were too painful to discuss." "Maybe it's time to heal those wounds," Alex urged, her courage growing bolder. "We can't keep living with this weight. I want to understand her struggles, to honor her legacy." Each word felt like a step deeper into a realm she hoped might offer clarity for them all. Aunt May sighed, the sound echoing years of silence. "Very well, but remember, some stories come with a heavy price." She began recounting experiences woven with immense strength, stories of hardship and resilience, slowly pulling back the curtains of their family's concealed history. As the memories spilled forth, Alex felt her heart swell with pride and sadness alike. "Your grandmother's life was not easy," Aunt May continued. "She bore the scars of societal expectations, of the struggle for recognition. Every victory felt hard-won. She wanted to shield you from the shadows." Alex listened intently, wrestling with her emotions as a complex tapestry of narratives began to unfold: her grandmother's escapades, the probability of loss, and the strength it took to rise above them all. Tales of disappointments merged with moments of fierce loyalty, depicting a woman who had fought fiercely against a backdrop of traditional constraints. The evening crept on, with Alex documenting everything into her journal, her pen tasting the bittersweet triumphs entwined in every tangle of narrative Aunt May shared. With each word, anxieties about her family began to disperse like mist in the morning sun. Their shared pursuit of honesty illuminated her fractured identity, linking her to the very essence of their collective heritage. When Aunt May recounted a particularly harrowing experience, one tied directly to the stigma surrounding women in their family, their dynamic shifted. "You see, your grandmother didn't just suppress secrets. She was afraid of shattering the facade, of losing the family," she confessed, the weight of her revelation hanging heavily between them. A fierce determination ignited within Alex. "But we have to face this head-on. We can't let the past suffocate who we are. It's time to challenge that narrative." Aunt May searched her niece's eyes, reflecting the tidal pull of hope swirling between them. "You're ready to expose the truths, aren't you?" "I have to be, my future depends on it," Alex replied ardently. "These stories belong to us, to all of us, and in owning them, we empower our lineage." With tears glimmering in her eyes, Aunt May nodded. "Then we shall face whatever emerges from this journey together." This burgeoning connection signaled a shift in Alex's heart. The fear she initially felt morphing into something powerful, one of purpose and legacy. She understood now that digging into her family's past wasn't merely about uncovering anecdotes, it was a catalyst for transformation, a torch illuminating the way toward acceptance and understanding. As they wrapped up the conversation, Alex's heart swelled with newfound clarity. Their collective histories did not manage to only reveal shadows, but illuminated her potential impact on the family's narrative. The next day, bolstered with resolve, Alex gathered her parents after dinner, ready to share what she had learned. As she articulated her discoveries about their family legacy and the powerful stories shared by Aunt May, her father's expression shifted, revealing a softer vulnerability. "This is us," she said, her voice unwavering. "Let us embrace it. We can redefine ourselves together." An unexpected silence hung in the aftermath of her words, a silence filled with the harmonious recognition that they stood at a crossroads. Each of them playing a pivotal role in the narrative they would co-create from that moment forward. In time, their faces softened, the initial barriers dissipating. Each question, every answer unearthed moments of growth and understanding, transformation ignited by courage. As the evening concluded and her parents exchanged glances of approval, Alex realized that not only had she confronted her past, but she had simultaneously forged a path for her future. She was no longer a mere keeper of their history, she was an active participant in the unfolding legacy. Her passion to unveil family truths had blossomed into purposeful conviction. She had challenged not only her family's reluctant acceptance but had also redefined her identity within the broader narrative of hope. Alex's journey became one of empowerment, carrying forward the voices of the ancestors who came before her and energizing her path ahead. As she closed the door after her parents' heartfelt acknowledgement, Alex felt a surge of gratitude. She understood now that every story revealed, every truth embraced, was a testament to the tenacity of spirit. Confident and proud, she stepped forward into an uncharted future, ready to intertwine her aspirations with the newly illuminated legacy that had molded her stronger, wiser, and wholly transformed. Her journey was just beginning, but this leap felt like a homecoming solace amid the cacophony of uncertainties. She recognized her newfound power, reshaping her destiny relied on her own willingness to confront the past, honor it, and pave a way towards authenticity. Her heart beat steadily, echoing the unyielding resonance of hope. This was only the beginning of her newly defined narrative. An extraordinary transition awaited, and she was ready to embrace every chapter that was yet to be written. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Your voice matters here. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to share this message. Don't wait even one more second. Authentic stories of overcoming deserve to spread. Let's make that happen.